principles and pride that he does about love and feelings. This film won't let that happen. They actually contort Darcy into something else. And really what it is it's a choice. It's an adaptation, and this film decides to make a different choice. I've got a little bit more talking to do, but before that, I'm almost there. 3-4 minutes. I want to show yet another. I'm going to skip one scene, the last scene from Pride and Prejudice, where they actually have the kiss, that thing, in addition to I love you, that shows that people are in love, that there's some passionate feeling there. And I'm going to go to a much more modern, let's see if we can just skip to it, a much more modern version of this same kind of scene. It's now from Clueless.
No, Wheaton never.
Okay. A more modern version, let's say, of that exact same kind of scene that we were seeing that actually plays with the idea of the marriage plot, right? What's your expectation that the protagonist is going to get married, or that the protagonists are going to get married at the end? And of course, the modern version, the modern answer to that is as if, right? As if. I'm only 16. And by the way, pay attention to that. It really didn't get talked about a lot when Clueless came out. There was such rapid applause for it, but he's in law school and she's 16. Another very anti-modern way, actually, in a very modern film, of thinking about this. Something that corresponds quite well, potentially, with Austen's novel. Not so much with the late 20th century. Okay, so these scenes were all to point out the different choices that are made, and the different choices that are made to make Austen popular in different kinds of ways. I think what you can see is, particularly in some modern adaptations like Clueless and in the 2005 Pride and Prejudice, you get a way in which Austen's actually tried to be made very modern and relevant. Passionate expressions, people yelling at each other, the kind of stuttering and inarticulacy that we just saw there, that's supposed to be love. Not the kind of sort of reserve and articulacy that we see in the BBC version of Pride and Prejudice. And you're going to see the same kind of thing in Becoming Jane. And I'm not going to ruin the film, but I just wanted to say a few things about it in advance. Becoming Jane is one of those film adaptations that really has extended Austen's popularity. And one of the reasons why I showed Pride and Prejudice so much is because it uses the Bennet family as the model of Austen's own family. And in fact, it makes Jane Austen different versions of the characters of Pride and Prejudice. So be on the lookout for that. In particular, characters from Pride and Prejudice that I don't think Jane would necessarily want to identify herself with. In particular, Lydia Wickham. Look for that moment as well. It does another thing that's really significant. It makes love and the loss of love the most significant event in her life. And it makes it the inspiration for all of her writing. All of the things that happen, that go into the novels, become a product of the fact that she supposedly fell in love with an actual historical being, Thomas Lefroy, an impoverished Irish law student who Jane Austen did meet in 1795. Now, it's not clear what happened between them. It seems like there was some sort of flirtation that the film actually trades on and extends much more so than there's any evidence to indicate that it should be extended. And just to give you an example, even though they flirted, it's in letters to her sister Cassandra, Jane talks as much about what was for dinner as she does about him. So I can give you some sense of maybe how she weighted it. Tom claimed later in life that he had a boyish love for Jane, but at that point she was a fairly well-known author, and he might have just been trying to attach himself to a famous person. Anyway, the thing to take away from that before you actually see the film, or as you're actually watching the film, is to think about this question of experience. I think it goes to something that you were asking earlier. Why is the film so interested in making Austen's novels a product of her biography, a product of her lived life? Why are we so intent on wondering whether Jane Austen actually had a proposal, whether she actually got married, whether she actually felt love? Why are we so intent on making the novels match up with the person? A lot of scholars point out, for example, that we just can't accept that this wouldn't be based on some sort of personal wisdom that she had. And that's a way in which these novels, a talk like this, these films, are often about trying to get at Jane Austen, the person. One great question you might want to ask is why? Okay, thank you. If there's any